And I call Carl Turner.
Thank you. Crossed many a times. So you know it pains me when I congratulate the Right Honourable Gentleman, the Shadow Justice Secretary, for his outstanding contribution. Because there was nothing, really, Bill, which are, though, I'm afraid to say, unworkable, unjust, unpopular and unnecessary. Secretary is unfortunate of somebody stealing a bottle of whiskey. I'm not the most eminent lawyer. I was prosecuting and defending the theft of Mars bars in my second sixth pupillage before I was elected in May 2010 to this House. So I don't pretend I'm terribly eminent. But never did I see a situation advising in the Magistrates' Court a defendant to be electing for trial because that defendant had allegedly nicked a bottle of whiskey. The scenario's for the birds, to be perfectly honest with you. It's unfortunate my friend, the Justice Secretary, could do much better. That one of our number who were opposed for principal reasons to these changes has a seat on the Public Bill Committee. I was told by colleagues it's impossible. You're never going to be able to provide that. It's never going to happen. The Chief Whip is never going to concede to one of the so-called rebels being on that Bill Committee. But what I don't appreciate is officials in the MOJ spinning that even Carl Turner was unable to persuade enough people to rebel against this bill. Frankly, it's unbecoming of a Secretary of State in any department of government. But I abstain today, and I sincerely urge my colleagues to abstain as well. Because I was that the worst parts of this bill will be defeated at amendment stage, and I ask sincerely to my honourable and right honourable friends to let this have a second reading today and let us make progress to get rid of the bits of this bill which are completely unworkable, unpopular, unjust and unnecessary.
David Lammy sat there and had to listen to this from his own side, not the opposition, not critics across the aisle, his own party. And that is where the real damage starts, because what you just heard was not a routine disagreement. That was a Labour MP standing up in Parliament and calmly dismantling the very bill Lammy is tied to, piece by piece, calling it unworkable, unjust, unpopular, and completely unnecessary. Those are not small words, those are political red flags. And notice how this unfolded. There was no shouting, no chaos, just a steady, controlled breakdown of the argument. That is what makes it worse. Because when someone isn't emotional, when they're not attacking wildly, but instead speaking with measured frustration, it hits harder, it sounds credible, it sounds real, and it becomes much harder to dismiss. Carl Turner didn't just disagree, he exposed the weakness in the logic behind the bill. That analogy about stealing a bottle of whiskey, he tore it apart instantly, made it sound ridiculous, pointed out that in real legal practice that scenario simply doesn't happen the way it was being presented. And in doing that, he didn't just challenge the policy, he questioned the competence behind it. And then came the part that really shifts everything. He made it clear this isn't just about policy differences. This is about internal resistance. MPs being told they cannot challenge the bill, rebels being shut out of committees, pressure being applied behind the scenes. That is where this stops being a normal debate and starts looking like control. Because if your own members are saying they are being blocked from properly scrutinizing legislation, that tells you everything about how fragile that legislation really is. Strong bills don't need protection from debate. Weak ones do, and Lammy knows that. That is why moments like this matter. Because it's not just what was said, it's where it was said and who said it. When criticism comes from inside your own ranks, it carries a different kind of weight. It suggests cracks. It suggests doubt. It suggests that the narrative being presented publicly does not match what people inside the room actually believe. Then Turner goes even further. He doesn't call for outright rebellion. He calls for abstention. That is strategic. That is controlled resistance. Let the bill pass to the next stage, but strip it apart later. Remove the worst parts piece by piece. That is not chaos. That is a plan. And here is the bigger picture that most people will miss. This wasn't just a speech. This was a signal to other MPs who feel the same way but haven't spoken yet. A signal that you can stand up, push back, and not completely break ranks. That is how internal opposition grows. Quietly at first, then all at once. So while it may look like just another parliamentary exchange, what you are actually seeing is something much more significant. Pressure building inside labor, a key figure being challenged indirectly but very publicly, and a bill that is already being labeled, on record, as unworkable before it has even fully passed. The question now is simple. How many others are thinking the same thing but haven't said it yet? Because if more voices start echoing this doesn't just become an uncomfortable moment for David Lammy, it becomes a serious political problem.